Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pets or Family. I'm Tricia Montgomery, along with
Jessica Abernathy,
your host for this fun and informative video podcast where we talk about the real issues that matter to you as pet parents and way more. How do you make your pets feel like family? Hello, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. Doing well. We just had a really interesting discussion on notebooks of all things.
Right.
Because I was pulling out, you got all the different notebooks everywhere around you. And so you were talking about your notebook. We both have that notebook. I don't know if it's like an obsession. I would call my notebooks, and it's an obsession. I am a scratch off kind of gal and writing things down. I don't, this rocket stuff. I'm not into it, the technology. I will put things in Google Calendar, but I want my notebooks. So, yeah.
Yep. I got my little flower one today. I love notebooks.
Where did you get that? Because you showed me like 5 of these, and I've seen you with different ones. Where can you find those? And you got to send me that link. I love those because I love those colors.
It's Erin Condren. I've been a fan of hers for years. I love her.
I love it. And, everybody needs notebooks, whether you're a pet parent, you're a mom, you need to do your schedules for your kids, whatever it is,
right.
Everybody needs it also for the veterinary visits, for the grooming appointments, for maybe the dog walker, the pet sitter. So love those notebooks. I love those notebooks. How are you though?
I'm doing good today, still cold like I'm always am, me and my long sleeves.
I'm in the fairly warmer climate here, so I think that has something to do with it. Yeah, a little bit of sunshine here. It's always sunshine here. And so also with your attitude too, projecting that. And also, who can't be positive when we start talking about pets and family, pets are family, and just that human-animal bond and really that increased serotonin, and they're making us live longer and happier and healthier lives.
I know. I'm excited for our guest today, though, because she's got a great personality. She's got great stories. It's stories that you just sit there and you're like, really? Okay, that's going to be fun to listen to,
So we're welcoming Liz McCauley today. And Liz McCauley is the executive director of the Cape Coral Veterinary Clinic and Animal Shelter in Cape Coral, Florida. And this woman, I was the past CEO for Paws Humane Society out of Columbus, Georgia. And you meet so many in animal welfare, but it is a job that you're working 7 days a week. That you're in there in the morning from 6:30 in the morning until 7:30 at nighttime. You're managing so many aspects of the organization, and you're dealing with animals and the staff and the veterinarians and the public. And sometimes that job is, I don't want to say it's a thankless job because there's so much rewarding to go with it, but it's a hard job. And you see things, animals come in that may be injured. You see animals that come in, you see people that may not have the money to take care of themselves or their pets. And she talks about that. And, we've talked about that in the past. And it's very, very interesting. She's a humble, such a beautiful, humble person. We're also going to talk a little bit about just Hurricane Ian, that they were hit by Hurricane Ian and what happened with that. And it's going to be really, I'm looking forward to speaking to her today.
Yeah, and she talks about how they had a building. I mean, their building it's hurricane proof. And you don't hear that very often. Hurricanes and tornadoes go through a lot of these towns and cities and stuff. And you just see the destruction that goes on. And, she was sharing a story with us before she came onto the podcast about how they were sitting there with a lot of the dogs, and they were sitting there playing, and the dogs were just like running around playing. Like they were having a play date. And I was just like, seriously? Everybody else is like fleeing and trying to get out of town and like trying to figure out where they're going. And here she is having a play date. And I'm just like, seriously? I'm like, okay, I don't even know if I could have done that.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy because if you look at the surrounding areas of Cape Coral and Fort Myers and Naples, destruction. I mean, houses were taken down, buildings were taken down, roofs. That eye of the storm remained over the Cape Coral area for about 21 hours, if I'm correct in saying that. And what happened? They stood tall and they were able to help out the community. They were able to help out so many people in need that had lost everything. And she herself was displaced by
Yeah.
Hurricane Eve. I think she and her husband spent 7-10 days at Cape Coral Animal Shelter because the bridge was taken out in Pile Island. People couldn't get through to their homes. They
Right.
couldn't. And then when we returned to their homes, the homes were gone.
Yeah, she actually moved into the shelter, which is, I mean, apparently now it's not for just animals anymore. It's actually humans and animals, which, hey,
some remote pets and people, just crazy stories. But that's her dedication. And I'm so excited to share her story with our audience and the different things. And I think there's also, we always do a little ask some questions, and we talk to these people in advance as well. And some really interesting stories about adoption. And I'm looking forward to exploring that more with her as well. So yeah, let's bring her on. Let's bring Liz on to this Pets or Family podcast and let our audience share with us on this. I think they're going to really enjoy this one.
Oh, I agree. So here she comes.
Liz, welcome to Pets or Family. We talked a little bit about you before you got on. Liz is the executive director for the Cape Coral Animal Shelter in Cape Coral, Florida. Liz, welcome to Pets or Family. Such an honor to have you here.
It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, super excited. So Liz, for those of our audience who don't know you and don't know about Cape Coral Animal Shelter and your efforts, tell us a little bit more. Gosh, you've been in the industry and the animal welfare for over 20 years. You were in Pennsylvania before this. You've got a lot of history in animal welfare and advocacy. Tell us more. Just fascinating story.
Well, this has been by far the biggest challenge and the most exciting challenge of my career. I got involved in rescue pretty much the same way almost everyone I know gets involved in rescue. You find out that there's a need and there's a sad situation. As you mentioned, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I grew up in the area right outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is, of course, known as the puppy mill capital of the world, and adopted a dog in 2007. Purebred Shiba Inu. And I said to the people at the shelter, why is this dog here? This is a purebred dog. Why is it in a shelter? And she said to me, well, we think it was a puppy mill breeder dog. And I said, what's a puppy mill? I had no idea. She handed me a brochure. Couldn't believe this was going on in my backyard. And the rest is history. I just started throwing myself into animal welfare. It took a long time to get to work in it. I was volunteering in it for a long time, which I think also happens in people like myself who end up working in it. I started out fundraising on a board of directors for the shelter that I ended up being the executive director of. So it's been a journey. And just when I think I've seen it all, I see things that hurt me even more. I mean, we have a lot of work to do still. But this journey here at the Cape Coral Animal Shelter has been amazing. I moved to Florida over 5 years ago, went to work at another shelter. This one was still being built, but I followed it very closely. And I was completely impressed by the people that were in charge of it. Mainly Joanne Lardo, who is our founder and board president. She is a local entrepreneur. She worked in Eastern Europe for many years and came here and runs a rum distillery. And, she's looking around the community, always thinking of ways she can help and things that she can do to make our community a better place to live. And she saw a lot of these people with low income, people on fixed income that couldn't afford veterinary care. And we also didn't have a shelter close by. And people were traveling way outside the area to go to shelter. So she decided to open a shelter, which she had no experience in, and she threw herself into it and learned a lot and built this shelter, started raising the money in 2016. And by 2020, she had established an incredible board of directors, raised almost $4 million and built the shelter that we have now with the intent that we're going to have phase 2, which we can talk about a little bit later, but that's our expansion plan. So we opened March 19th, 2020. And if you think about that date, you can know what happened in the next few days, right? 4 days after we opened here, the whole world shut down. We're sitting here with a shelter full of animals. We probably had 80 animals at the time. And what are we going to do? We didn't have a lot of staff. We had volunteers. Some of them weren't comfortable coming here. So we changed our whole protocol. We really, when you talk about pivot, we really changed the way we did things. We had to from the opening. We started scheduling appointments for meet and greets for our animals. We started limiting the time the volunteers would be here and scheduling the volunteers, scheduling staff differently. And it worked so well for us, especially as a small new company, shelter. We're still doing it that way. And it's funny how things like that come out of the COVID situation. But, we opened first year, second year, third year, just celebrated our third anniversary. And I'm proud to say we've done 3,300 adoptions, and
Wow.
it's with 12 kennels and 3 little cat rooms. So it's pretty amazing.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm going to circle back on a couple of things that you talked about. First of all, I know you all personally. I know Joanne, and there were people that said that she couldn't do this. There were people that were very, very skeptical of her and the efforts because she didn't know anything about animal welfare nor animal sheltering. And she just dived in and she just did this incredible effort. Just pause up, round of congratulations. And what you guys have done is a feat in and of itself. And it's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, well, if you've ever met Joanne, you would know that she doesn't take no for an answer, and she's very driven. Like I said, she worked in Eastern Europe for a long time. She's a driven entrepreneur, very smart, very business savvy, and she just had this vision, and she still does. I mean, we communicate every day about things to do with the shelter. Although I run the day-to-day operations here, she is very much driven for what our future is going to hold, which is our expansion, which we'll talk about. We're expanding already. Getting more involved in animal welfare throughout the state. I was just in Tallahassee 2 weeks ago for Humane Lobby Day. She's very supportive of that. She has a lot of contacts in government. We want to change things. We want to not only want to be a shelter here that, saves all these animals. We want to get to the root of the problem, which is preventing so many animals in the first place, preventing the overpopulation and the backyard breeders and the puppy mills. And we're very driven to that. And that's where Joanne comes into play too, because that's her vision and that's what she's always wanted for us. And that's what I want too. And it's very contagious when you see her enthusiasm and drive.
So talk to me about this. We're about pet parents. For people in our audience who may not really be familiar with puppy mills, talk to us about puppy mills and the things that maybe pet parents need to know if they're considering getting a dog or a cat. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you touched on that within Pennsylvania, your previous shelter, and that you as a person in Pennsylvania and being part of this didn't know what puppy mills were on. Let's talk about that.
For the average person who doesn't know, they do a very good job of disguising what they do. For example, there's a lot of farms in Pennsylvania, and they'll bring the mother and a few puppies up front, and it looks great. And they're so healthy and happy. And they can have at the back of the property a barn with 500 dogs in it, in kennels, breeding, that never leave those kennels, breeder dogs that never even step foot on grass. All they're there for is to breed. And it's horrible conditions. It's gotten a little better, not much. We changed some laws back in 2008, Governor Rendell up there, but it hasn't gotten much. They have no food, water, ventilation. I mean, it's just a money-making machine. And that's where the cute little puppies and puppy stores come from. There are great breeders out there. Do not get me wrong. And there's a lot of advocates who are against all breeding. I don't believe in that. I believe there's responsible breeders out there. Absolutely. That care about the breed, that care about the line, that don't breed genetic problems into their litters. Those are good breeders. And if they say to you, I want the dog back, if anything happens for whatever reason, we'll take the dog back. That's a good breeder. That's right. Not money-making puppy mills. They don't care about anything but the money. And it's really important for the consumer to see that from those places. And we get a lot of dogs in here that are bought at the pet stores, and they have health problems, or it doesn't work out. They can't exchange them and take them back. They end up here, and they're still paying on some of the dogs sometimes. So it's right. Very unfortunate. And education is the big thing, and that's what we try to do. And people say shelters never get puppies. We have puppies all the time. Shelters never get purebreds. We have purebreds all the time. You just have to look, and you have to be diligent and look every day for what you're looking for. So
right. You had a dog named Churchill in there, if I remember. It was this beautiful, massive hunk of a bulldog or something. I don't even know. It was huge.
Yeah, he was beautiful. We just had a little Maltipoo, which of course isn't a purebred, but it was from a pet store. Took it home one day. They were allergic. They had to surrender it here. The pet store didn't give their money back. Here at the shelter, when we adopt an animal out, no matter what the circumstances, we will take that animal back. No questions asked, no problem. And that's good breeders do the same thing with their breeding. So it's really up to the consumer to educate themselves and make sure you know the history of what dog you're getting, and as much as you can. And ask us and come see us. We have amazing animals here. So.
Yeah. So what are some questions from a pet parenting or prospective pet parenting side? Can they ask? Do they need to know? if they're considering, I mean, you touched upon purchasing a dog from a pet store. There are many states that not allow that anymore. And our beautiful friend Steve Dale has done an incredible job with that in Chicago. But what are some things that pet parents might not know that they should know, Liz? And then information.
Sorry. If you're buying it from a pet store, it's from a puppy mill. It's some sort of, we say puppy mill, but it's a commercial breeding facility. Responsible breeders do not let their dogs be sold or their animals they breed be sold in a pet store. Why? Because they care where they go. They want to make sure that they are asking all the right questions, that it's going to go to a good family, that it's going to be well taken care of. That's what breeders do. They vet those people. Pet stores don't ask those questions. If you have the money or the credit card to pay for it, you're going to get the animal. So pet stores in general, you're right. We actually passed a law here in 2019 that you are not allowed to sell cats or dogs in pet stores here in Cape Coral. We would love to see that nationwide, statewide, and we'll fight for that if it ever gets to out on the bills out there again. It's not right. But if there are, like I said, there are responsible breeders out there. If you search a breed, if you are that's absolutely have to have a certain breed, look for a breeder. The biggest thing is look for that contract. Look for a breeder who's going to make sure you are signing something saying if anything for the life of that dog ever happens, it comes back to you. That's what the good breeders do. They want them to come back. They usually have some kind of health certificate, some kind of health guarantee. Same thing. If it's not healthy, they want to get it back because they don't want to keep breeding dogs into genetic problems into their dogs either. So ask those questions, make sure you meet the mom, be diligent with that.
Absolutely. Liz, excited about this. So last episode, we talked to Becky Mosser about heartworm. It is April, and I know you all are focused on heartworm right now from something that you're doing at your shelter. Talk to us about your program that you're doing and everything that you're really doing. And for those of our audience who may not think that heartworm is in your area, let's talk about that and touch upon what happened with you all with Hurricane Ian as well.
So coming from Pennsylvania, I was not familiar with heartworm because we really didn't have it. I was told, yeah, you should have them have your dogs on heartworm medication. I used to do it in the summertime because I figured in the wintertime there's no mosquitoes. Well, boy, I changed my mind on that because it's obviously transmitted through mosquitoes, especially here in the South. We have mosquitoes all the time. So you cannot, of course, ever have your dog not on heartworm medication. We've probably seen, I should have looked up the number, but it's probably well over 250 of our dogs have been positive for heartworm. It's deadly. I mean, it is worms that get into the heart and lungs of the dog, and basically will kill them. And it's sad to see. The symptoms are heartbreaking, a lot of coughing, a lot of problems breathing, but it can be treated, and we treat it here at the shelter. So a lot of times we will purposely pull dogs that are heartworm positive from other shelters, from a lot of the municipal shelters, because they don't have the means to treat it. But what we do here is we follow the American Society of Heartworm Prevention. So we follow their treatment, and it's 3 injections total. And so they start on some doxy for a month, and then they have 2 injections 2 days in a row, another month of doxy, another injection. And then it takes almost a whole year to make sure that it's cleared. We test for microfilaria, which is baby heartworms, new ones, and 6 months through, it's always a good sign if we don't see those. We've had very few dogs that have had a reaction to that treatment. I happen to have 2 that had reactions. And the only reason I have them is because they had reactions and I took them home, and, we wanted to keep an eye on them and make sure they were going to be okay. Kept them on the treatment, and then I fostered them, and then they just stayed, Lucy and Bucky. But most dogs, they are a little sore and they have, some discomfort with the injections, but most of them come through it with flying colors. The only problem is you have to keep them calm for a year, because as those worms are dying, it can cause problems with their heart and lungs. That's probably the hardest thing of heartworm, is keeping a dog calm, because they are usually not. But we have spent a lot of money treating it here. We still adopt out the dog, but we make sure they come back to our clinic for the treatment. We follow up on that to make sure, because they will die if they're not treated, and we make sure of that. It's a deadly thing. Please don't ever have a dog that's not on heartworm preventive. And it's so easy now. There's all kinds of products out there, and we use a lot of different ones for different situations, and no excuse.
You've got something going on for Heartworm Month. You've got for April. Talk about that, Liz.
Yeah, so it's our fundraiser we do every April called Helping Hearts. And it's our once a year fundraiser that we try to raise enough money to cover the cost of us treating all of these dogs for the next year. So we're hoping, our goal is $5,000. It's all online. You can just go online and make a donation on our website. But we usually get more than that, which is good, because it, like I said, it's very expensive. The injections are expensive. It's time for our vet staff to treat these animals. Of course, we bring them in here to the clinic that day. So we monitor them. They're here all day. So they're in our care. And, we want to make sure they don't have any complications. So it does cost us a lot of money to treat that, but it's the right thing to do. So that's why we try to raise a little money to help us.
Fantastic. I want to bring up something that I thought was really interesting that I didn't know about you, Liz, and this was just really beautiful. You're adopted. My daughter's adopted as well. And, I think when you look at that, did that really talk to us about that really started your journey in animal welfare and the importance of finding shelter animals' homes. Is that correct? Or tell me about that.
Yeah, I feel that way. I felt that way over the years. I didn't necessarily think of that when I got into this, but over the years, as I've seen all of these unwanted, abandoned animals, and thought to myself, gee, that was me. That was me. And I needed a family to come along and adopt me. And when I hear people say, oh, the animals in the shelter are defective, or there's something wrong with them, or there's a reason they're there, that's not true. That's not true at all. They just are here for various reasons. And I think my adoption, I was adopted by a wonderful, wonderful family that loved animals, of course. And it just touches my heart. I do something special on Christmas. I spend every Christmas here at the shelter. I do a big deal giving animals the gifts, and we get all the volunteers come, and they love it. We have such a great time that day. We give we bring each of the animals out individually and give them a tree. And I think it's because I was born on December 18th, and I spent my first Christmas in an orphanage. And I often think to myself, well, I wonder if the nurses and the people that were caring for me did something special for me for my first Christmas. So I kind of like to think they did. So that's why I try to do something special for all the animals that are here on Christmas Day. And the volunteers and staff love it too. We have a great time. Yeah.
So literally brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Yeah, that's so sweet. You do get that on camera, right? And you do post that all over social media, because that's just the tearjerker right there.
I always think it's neat how people take time out of their Christmas Day to come here and do that too. I mean, they're celebrating with their families, but we do it in the afternoon, and we get a lot of people coming here to do that, and it's really pretty cool. I love it.
That's awesome.
My heart goes out to you and to everything that you all are doing. And I think there's a misnomer that people in the Cape Coral area that, when they're in Cape Coral, they're in Florida, that they don't need the funds, that they can do this, or that you can do this on your own, you're funded. But that's not the case. There are so many people out there that are struggling. And whether they're retired or whether they've lost things because of Hurricane Ian, that there are struggles going on right now. I want to wrap and talk about that, Liz, because you guys are really focusing on helping people in this area, and just absolutely beautiful what you're doing.
So we have our affordable care clinic. I think that's the most important thing. We have seen over 5,000 clients in the 3 years we're here. It's amazing to me how many clients bring animals in that have never been to the vet. And they've been waiting for some place that they can afford to go to. We're the only one in the area. There's some local in the other parts of the county, but we're the only one locally. And a lot of people have trouble getting other parts of the county. So, we'll have an appointment for an animal, and it comes in and it has never been to the vet. So it's really kind of amazing that we're providing this service. And then we get other people that come to the clinic just to support the shelter, because the revenue from the clinic does go to support the life-saving work we do at the shelter. So that's kind of a win-win for people as well. Our area, it's not a wealthy area. I would not say Cape Coral is wealthy. There's a lot of fixed income folks here. The hurricane, I live on Pine Island, as you know. Half of St. James City is still living in tents and vacation homes, or trailers and tents, and we've been really hit hard here. Fort Myers Beach, Matlacha, lots of areas here. So before the hurricane, we gave out a lot of crates. I'd say one thing: if you live in South Florida, have a crate for your animal, because we could not believe how many people came here for crates, thinking they were going to have to evacuate, and many of them used the crates. We were out of them within a couple hours of advertising that. So have a crate. After the hurricane, very blessed in the fact that we were on the news a lot. So a lot of people were bringing us supplies. We had many people come from the other coast, bringing us things, as I mentioned, from Pennsylvania. Someone saw me on the news up there and brought truckloads of supplies for us, more than we even needed, which was great because we were able to take our van and go out to these areas that were hard hit. And we gave away food and supplies and water and just everything that we could possibly do to help the people that were affected the most. And that was the community supporting us, and we were able to pay it forward, which was amazing.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
You actually lived at the shelter, Liz, for about quite a while, and you spent during Hurricane Ian. You were at the shelter with those animals, with some of your staff, and you and your husband, and your animals. So, yeah,
7 days. My husband and I lived in my office with my 3 dogs, and we're still married. So I think we have a great marriage. It was not easy. We didn't have water and electric for most of that, but we couldn't get back to our home because the bridge was washed out on our island. But it was okay. I would have been here anyway. And I will say we were here during the storm. I have video. The animals were safe. They were playing. The puppies were playing. We had the storm shutters up, and it was like nothing was really even going on with them. So we have a well-built building, and we're hoping that the next building is built just as strong. So.
Yeah. Liz, it has been our honor to talk to you, and just a wealth of knowledge, and just how can people get a hold of you? How can people get a hold of Cape Coral? How can they make a donation to you? What can we do to help you and help you pay it forward? Tell us how to get a hold of you.
Well, your organization is amazing. I want to take the opportunity to thank you from the time I met you, Trish, to all the work that you're doing behind the scenes for us and for shelters and for pet parents. I mean, I think the education portion of what you're doing and support of us, we are so grateful for that. It's really easy to get a hold of us. CapeCoralAnimalShelter.com. Everything's on there. You just look around, all our animals that are up for adoption, all of the policies, and the donate button. Many ways you can donate. We are actually going to be launching our capital campaign for our new building. We are building an 18,000 split square foot additional building here on the property. And the facility that we're in now will be completely converted to the clinic. So we can serve more of those people who have not had their animals to the vet. And we need all the support we can get. We need a lot of money to do it, but it's needed. There's a great need for it here. And every penny goes right back into taking care of the animals and their well-being. So please come check us out and come for a tour. If you're local, we'd love to show you around. We'd love to give tours. Be happy to show you our facility and talk about all the great work we're doing. And just want to say thank you to our volunteers and our staff. Our village is incredible. We have the best volunteers. And we do a little with a lot of staff so that everybody's overworked and they know it and they smile every day anyway. So we're grateful for them as well.
Outstanding. Liz, thank you so much. Liz McCauley, Cape Coral Animal Shelter, thank you for joining us on Pets for Family. Our honor to be with you today.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Wow. I have goosebumps. I have chills. Her story about her own adoption and her parents, and how that led her to the journey she's on right now. No words.
She's an amazing human being. If she doesn't inspire you to volunteer, to up your game, then I don't know. Truly, I don't know what's going to. I mean, seriously, I'm lost for words, which that takes a lot because she's a great human being. She exudes this calming presence and this confidence and this beauty and humble, and just really, really blessed to know her. And just and when I say it's an honor to meet her, it really is, because she's an example of really what the incredible people that are within the animal welfare profession that you meet. And then she lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps this. And I think also what was very interesting too is that there's that misnomer that all this money, you've got this building and you've got all this money, and that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. And hats off to, I think, her founder, Joanna Lardo, and for, having the foresight and just to have no idea about an animal welfare. I'm going to build an animal rescue group. Well, okay, and how people said she couldn't do it. And then she's like, you think I can't? Watch me now. What an challenge
incredible
accepted. You know what I mean? That's just challenge accepted. Game on,
Yeah. I think from inspiration for our pet parents, and to let them know that these are the kind of people that are serving throughout the United States or everywhere. And that these are the kind of people that you really run into. But this one is, you stand out, and she's special. She certainly is.
I agree. And this is something else that I think everybody should hear. And I think it's something that everybody should think about that. I mean, if you got the time and you've got the passion in your heart, reach out to your local shelter. Everybody's always looking for volunteers. You know what? You're talking about, you got to lose a little bit of weight. I mean, no offense. Everybody's always talking about, I got a few LBs to get rid of, you know what I mean? So run over to your local shelter and say, hey, can I walk some dogs? I mean, everybody needs to get those dogs out to get exercise. They will gladly let you come walk some dogs. I mean, that goes a long way. Those dogs love to get walked. I mean, volunteer. They're always looking for volunteers. You know what I mean? Go sit with the cats. You know what I mean? And love on them so that they get some extra attention, you know what I mean? And go read a book to a dog, let them get some more human contact. They don't do great in the shelters and they don't show well because they're scared, you know what I mean? So any human contact, they're going to appreciate it. And if you've got that passion, go volunteer some time because most of these shelters and rescues are all volunteer based. We know that for being around them so much, so if you got the extra time and you got the passion.
Absolutely. And I think that, there's so many aspects and just this shelters are in crisis mode right now from a standpoint of funding, from volunteers, from workers, because people are, they want more money or whatever, and they're going on. What amazes me is their organization is volunteer based.
Right.
And you see these volunteers come out and walk these dogs and run. I find it outstanding. And that's a testament to the Cape Coral, to Liz, and to what they've done. But also it's an example for us as people to get up and, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. And, foster, walk the dogs, offer, help them. And not just, there's animal rescue groups everywhere. You can find this in the smallest towns of Zalma, Missouri, all the way to, into everywhere. And whether they're large or small, they need volunteers. And I think that there's a message that we could leave behind here to our audience and to the pet parents. It's such a beautiful example, not only to your children. If you're not doing anything, take the time to do that and consider it a second career. And, selfishly, you get so much reward from it. You really do.
Right. I mean, that's how, I hate to say it, but that's where Bin Laden came from. I
think our audience, they're going to be a little confused about Bin Laden. So that is Jessica's cat. If you missed the first interview, that is Jessica's cat. She does have a cat named Bin Laden. We're not in.
Yes, I do have a cat named Bin Laden. I will be famous.
We're going to get people knocking on our door from the government and the CIA. Jessica, thank you so much. They're probably watching us right now.
Right, they probably will. But no, it's my cat. He's a little gray and white tabby. He's my personal little terrorist. You know what I mean? He's a sweetheart. He really is. One day I'll have him as my background. He'll just be our background. He'll be the little cat in the background. But I
love that. Please have that. I would love that.
He's a sweetheart. He would be constantly returned to the rescue if he ever got adopted out, just because he's horrible. I can put up with his horribleness. So he earned his name at a very, very young age. He lives up to his name on a daily basis, but he's
I love that.
So
I love it. So Jessica, what are we going to be talking about next time? We're actually going to be putting these out weekly now. So great for our audience. Every week we're going to be dropping a new episode. And so get to see us out, every week, whether you want to or not.
Right. I believe we're going to be talking to, let me just double check my notes because I want to make sure. I believe we're going to be talking to Tanya next week, correct?
Tanya Hart, I think celebrating Earth Month and sustainability. So thank you guys for listening to us today. I'm excited.
I know. So until we see everybody next week, how do you make your pets? I was going to say, how do you make your pets? Oh, wait, I'm messing that up again this week. Oh, that's how we're human, right? How do you treat your family? There we go. So until next week, guys, we'll see you then. Right? Have a good one. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you're listening to us today. If you want to reach out to us, feel free to find us on petsourfamily.net or any of our social channels, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And we want to remind you, pets are family. Have a good one. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.